Alright, so let's finish the Insidious franchise with Insidious, The Last Key. I meant to put up the slipcover with it. Insidious, The Last Key, which is still a prequel. It is after the events of Chapter 3, but before the events of the first two films. For reference. And overall, my overall thoughts with this is that I think it's well done, but it falls in the same category as the third one. There's no tension unless it's characters that we don't know about. I mean, characters that we never met, characters we don't know who they are. It's possible they could die, but when it comes to Elise, there's no tension with it. And there are certain spots in this film where she's in peril that you just like, okay, I'm supposed to be worried about her because I know she doesn't die here. She knows she's not going to die here. So this actually goes back into Lisa's history, which I like. We find out that when she was a kid back in the 50s, she was still talking to ghosts and spirits and stuff because she lived adjacent to a prison. And every time that they would, give them the death penalty, I think it's in Five Keys, New Mexico. This is a fake place because they wanted to do the keys. And when she's a kid, she got weird powers. Her mom supports her, but her dad does not. We have to do this stereotypical I don't believe in stuff, no nonsense dad who beats their kids if they act out. This is the 50s, not the Middle Ages. But I do like that the dad is played by Josh Stewart from The Collector and The Collection. So that was really cool, but I don't like the way his character was. And they kind of ruin his character too. Like, they make it like, oh, he was just, like, he still loves his kids and he just didn't understand what was going on, and then he enforced it with the violence. He still loved his kids, and he wasn't really a bad person, but stuff had happened. He'd seen a lot of people die with the death penalties. He was the warden there, and it messed with them. And then he doesn't believe in this stuff, and then he's just, but he's really a good person at heart. But then they do say that it was the evil spirit that made him do this. But like they find out later, when at least was a teenager, she saw another girl, and she believed it was a ghost. But later they find out she was alive and then died later because there's this new guy, Garza, who was played by Kirk Acevedo, another actor I know. He was on Arrow as Richard Dragon. And he's also good in this. But he plays the guy who bought Elise's house. And one thing I scratched my head at. So, this takes place, has to be a couple years after the events of Chapter 3, right? Has to be because of where this movie ends. So, we go... First and foremost, we go back to the past. We find out she had a brother. Let's just retcon some stuff. Alright? This whole backstory is a retcon because she never once mentioned anything from her past. And now we gotta go into her past. We're gonna retcon some stuff. So she has a brother. And, his name is Christian. And so she gets a phone call from Garza who tells her, hey, I'm living in this house and there's ghosts, and when he gives her the address, it's her old house, and first she says no, but then she tells Specs and Tucker, and that's one of the main reasons why I think this takes place a couple of years after. Other people say it takes place right after the third one, but it can't because Tucker's hair is now long, which is also a problem because if he has long hair here, does he get a haircut like the day before? Because they presented this movie ends just before the events of the first film. Although, I will say that we don't have a time frame of where this case ends, and then when she has the dream at the end, and we'll get to that too, that tells her, in a phone call from Lorraine. I don't know. I don't know. It's really weird. I don't know but I just don't know. So they go to Five Keys, and they go to the house, and all the furniture and everything is still there, which means no one has lived there since it gotta be the 60s, whenever she was a teenager. And I'm like, how would they not sell? I understand it's adjacent to a prison that's no longer open, but how would they not sell it to the house, or at least try to sell the house? Maybe he's the only one stupid enough. But yes. And we actually find out that the ghost is actually warning, there to warn Elise that this guy has another woman held captive underneath, doing the same thing her dad did. And thanks to Specs, he dies. And then, of course, we get, once again, like Chapter 2, we get a cop that never comes back. He comes in, he goes, "You guys better stay here I have questioning tomorrow." We never see him again. Well, actually, we do see the questioning thing, but it doesn't go anywhere other than enforce them to stay. They go to this diner. There's just two young blonde women, which she sort of recognizes to look familiar. I'm thinking they're supposed to look like her mother, but neither of the actresses do. It would make more sense if it was only one daughter, one girl, and it was played by the same actress, but it was two. There was, what's her name? Skylar something, and the chick from I don't know. But one of them was the chick from Smiley. And, so, yeah. And then her brother Christian comes in, played by Bruce Davison, who's a good actor. Turns out these are her nieces. And I'm like, remember when I first watched this, I'm like, nieces, what? They're just throwing in characters now? Because we gotta have some kind of connection, I guess. Well, they're still gonna investigate the house. She tells that Christian wants nothing to do with her because she left him. But Christian, you saw what your father did to her. Why wouldn't she leave? You cannot hold a grudge against your sister for wanting to leave that environment. You cannot. That's the one thing that I was frustrated about when I first watched this. I'm like, why is he mad? Yes, he left her. He wasn't the one getting abused. She was. And before you say, oh, but with her gone, yeah, but they never confirmed that. He just says, you left me with him. Never said once that he hit him, or anything after she left. So to me, whether they didn't explain it or what, it doesn't seem like she did anything wrong. She wanted to get away from there. She did. Yes, I've got to mention her mom also died due to her opening this thing and releasing this key face demon. It's just how she found out about the further. And that's also why maybe she forgot. I guess, I don't know, but it's a little confusing. Also, Tucker and Specs have a crush on the nieces. I don't know. Their comedy kind of doesn't work in this. That kind of doesn't work in this. But, yeah, so she gives a picture to one of the nieces of the whistle that Christian used to have when they were kids. By the way, this opening of them as kids takes forever to get done. I'm like, how long is this? I don't even mean this long. It's like 20 minutes to a half hour. It takes forever to get done. They could have cut a little bit out of it. Like, I don't know. Just could have cut a little bit out of it. So they go back to the house. And, no, the brother and the daughters, the nieces, go back to the house. And while there, Imogen? No, the other one. Melissa. She gets attacked by the key-face demon and ends up in the hospital. And so Christian and Elise have an argument, and this is where Imogen reveals she has powers. And that's why I went, ah! My Jeff Goldblum impression there. Now I get it. This is yet to come true, but I went, ah! They're trying to set up for another sequel. Because they can't have Elise there. They need another psychic person. Someone who can speak to the spirits. That's why they've retconned and introduced Imogen. Which is yet to be confirmed. But we don't know. But yes, she has it too. And then they start to investigate the house. And Elise gets put in a coma. And she's technically she's in it further. She gets captured by the key-face demon. They call it the man with the keys, which is weird. But, so of course, Imogen is the only one. And they hypnotize her, and she goes in to save her aunt. And again, none of this comes off as tension, except for, Imogen and the other sister. But I'm sitting there going, okay, so Melissa can die. But Imogen's probably going to survive. So that they can continue with her. But Elise isn't going to die. Because she doesn't die until the end of the first one. So. And again. She also has this speech where she says that. She's not afraid. She's not afraid of death or anything. But then again. I got to go back to the end of the first one. She was scared as hell. When she knew it was the bride, she was scared as hell. So if she was ready to die, why was she scared? It makes no sense. They're just like reinforcing that she's ready to go when it's time to go, but it doesn't make any sense. So thanks to Imogen throwing the whistle, Elise blows the whistle, summons the spirit of her mother. Also, the spirit of the dad is there. Gonna whip her, I guess. But he tries to fight back and gets sent away. And then the mother shows up and sends the key-face demon away. And we get a reunion. But we also get traveling down through doors. And this is the first continuity error. This isn't really an error, but it just doesn't make any sense. She opens one of the doors and we see Dalton in the attic. And it calls back to the first one. And I rewatched the scene. I put in the first one, I rewatched the scene. Yes, Dalton does look in the corner. And as soon as he does, it cuts to downstairs and him screaming. I went, so he's screaming at Elise? So why when he woke up, he didn't say, hey, I saw that lady in the attic? But then when they get up there, he goes, I hurt my leg. I'm like, no, wait. You fell. Grabbed your head. You're sitting there. You look in the corner. It's like a minute. And then you yell and then say you hurt your leg? Were you covering for something? I don't know. I really don't understand. Okay. I do think, though, in the context of the original film, it was supposed to be like the lipstick face demon or the long-haired fiend that he saw. I think that's who it was supposed to be, but they changed it to kind of fit in here, so it's Elise now. But it also doesn't make any sense. Also, what doesn't make any sense is the scene that they have after this, after they reunite, she and Christian, they, patch things up. Then they go home. It cuts to her in her bed. She's having nightmares. She's seeing stuff from the first film, which is from the night. Which is from a night, right? At night. The night before Dalton goes into a coma, doesn't wake up, right? And you see Dalton in bed, goes to the window, you see lipstick face, and then she goes, Dalton! No. I know there's no way to prove she didn't know his name, but she then gets the phone call right after the dream. And she said, oh, my name is Lorraine. And you may have, I remember you helped me with my son many years ago. And now it's happened to my grandson. She goes, Dalton, how did you know that? She goes, I have my ways, or something like that. She goes, tell Josh I'll be there first thing tomorrow. Bullshit. First of all, it's a couple days, maybe more. It's a while. Because Dalton is in a coma for a while before she even thinks of calling Elise, right? And what we see in her dream is the demon first attaching itself to Dalton. The night before he doesn't wake up. The night before they find him and he won't wake up. And it's a little while. I think it's a couple weeks to a month, I think, before they actually get the nerve to call Elise. Or she gets the idea to call Elise because there's something going on. Because they move into a different house before anything happens. And even then, it's not Elise who comes to the house the next day. It's Tucker and Specs. She sends them ahead to make sure everything is legit, and then she comes over. So I appreciate them trying to connect everything, but this scene makes no sense. It's trying to set up that it was connected to the first film, but they didn't think about it when they did it. It makes no sense. She wouldn't have a dream of the demon showing up first, and then she gets the call. She could have the dream and try to figure out what it is, but it just doesn't make sense that she would have the dream, get the call, and then say, I'll be there first thing in the morning, when that's not what happens. And it really does pay to watch all 4 films in a succession, like I have. I watched the first film on Thursday, and I watched 2 and 3 on Friday, and technically it's Saturday morning after midnight that I watched this. So, what was after 11? But yeah, I appreciate them trying to connect everything, but it just doesn't work. That being said, this is not a bad movie. I think it is well done, but again, the comedy with Tucker and Specs is probably at its worst here. And I was surprised to find out that Lee Winnell actually wrote this. I'm like, so someone else wrote this, right? Lee Winnell didn't write it. He was just put in here as an actor, but he wrote it. And I'm like, wait. He was good with comedy in the last couple of them. That it was fine. It wasn't spectacular. It was fine. And here it's just every time there's a joke with them, it's especially them fighting over the girls, and then there's at the end when they're in the hospital, Specs just kisses Imogen, and then Tucker's he's gonna flip with Melissa, and he's like, you gonna eat that? And then he very sexily eats the Jello. Yeah, I'm just what happened to the funny? I mean, what happened? Did it just say, do whatever you think is funny, and didn't even... I don't know. As it is, though, I think this is fine. I am intrigued to see where they go with it. Because like I said before, I was pretty sure that they set up Imogen to be in future films. If they don't do that, maybe it's because they changed the course a little bit, but I was pretty sure that's where it was going to go. And they could still continue at the end of the second one, which they have a problem with cliffhangers because the end of the third one had the lipstick face demon and the long hair fiend show up. There's no follow up with that except for the dream that she has. And the end of the second one, we had that, that cliffhanger with the girl. We should follow that up. And it would make sense to follow that up now because, they can't talk to Elise. They don't know she's there, but there's something going on, so they call Imogen. She comes along and she can actually communicate with her aunt and have that connection and help them. So, it works. And I will tell you this. Patrick Wilson. If you're bringing back Dalton, you're going to do this again, you gotta bring back Tucker and Specs. I'm assuming Lee Winnell is involved in the process somehow, so you gotta bring him back. You gotta have some kind of connection with those characters. I'm just saying. But, guys, Insidious The Last Key for me is gonna get a 7. To me, it's the lowest of the 4. It really is. And here I thought it was one of the better ones, but I'm gonna give it a 7. It's a little bit disappointing, and the connection to try to give it just doesn't work. But yeah. So what are your thoughts on Insidious The Last Key? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.